Trojan family, what is going on? Welcome back to the USC LAFB show here on the LAFB Network. I'm your host, Ryan Dyrud. Today, we are talking 2027 linebackers. I know that's a position that everyone's been concerned about, want to see improved. Yesterday, I gave some portal options that are currently available. I believe more will become available. But wanted to look at the 27 class that USC will start to build and start getting commitments and what the linebacker position will look like. Because obviously that's the future. And I think many of you, as do I, want to kind of know what the future of this room looks like and how it will continue to improve. So let's get right into it. If you noticed, background's a little different. My tree is on the ground now. We are preparing for the birth of my second daughter, is just a couple weeks away unless she comes early. So had to set up the bassinet last night. You know, we're in a tiny LA 2-bedroom apartment. So I got my daughter's room is on that side of the wall. And then the newborn will be with us for the first few months till she moves to her crib, where they're basically going to be on top of each other in that tiny room. But hey, gotta love it. So we're excited. But that's for the change in scenery a little bit here. One day I'll have a studio. It's been my dream for a long time. Long time since starting this whole venture, you know, really 10 years ago, and then now really what it is today, kind of 5 years ago. So one day we'll have a nice studio that we can all hang out at, and hopefully we can actually host events and you guys can all come by. We'll have USC players come. That's been kind of my dream and hope. So one day that'll happen. But anyway, let's get into it. No more wasting time. I know you guys like to just get into it hot and heavy. So quick math for you, because we want to be realistic here, right? So looking at the number of kind of scholarship linebackers, because you kind of got to account, that's how you build the roster, right? Planning for the future is, okay, who do we have on scholarship? Who do we anticipate leaving in the future? So how many scholarship spots do we have open to offer and ultimately sign commits from each position? This isn't just like random, right? How USC, I know, added 35 commits in this class, but it wasn't just like, oh, let's just add 6 defensive backs. Let's just add 6 wide receivers. This is all a math table that Chad Bowden, his staff, and the coaching staff kind of builds together for the future of like, okay, here's how many roster spots we have allocated for each position. We can add a lot more this year. We're going to add a lot less next year. We're doing less in the portal on this position, more in the portal on this position, yada, 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 and so forth. So in this 25 season, unless I maybe miss, I don't think so, but I believe USC had 9 scholarship linebackers on their roster. There was obviously some other walk-ons, and maybe unless one of those walk-ons ended up getting a scholarship that I just don't know about, I could be off by one. But based on what I know, 9 scholarship linebackers on the 2025 roster. Currently, as it stands, if all 3 of the 2026 commits, all enroll and make it all the way through, which they've all signed, there are 8 scholarship linebackers on the current roster, meaning, as we all know, there will be 1 transfer portal linebacker added, maybe 2. Yeah, maybe 2, especially with roster limits going up to 105 this season in terms of scholarships. You do have more availability for each position in terms of scholarship athletes. So 8 right now, including the 3 commits, Talanoa Ely, Sean Scott, and Taylor Johnson. 1 more probably portal entry brings you to 9. So then looking at 27, all these guys can all return minus whatever the portal entry they add, which some of the names I gave yesterday, one of them would be a super senior, so he would only be here 1 year if he does end up adding. You can check out that video. I'll put the link in the description. So then you're back down to 8. Stevens, Walker, Robinson, Newby, they would all have technically the ability to go to the NFL if needed. And obviously, as we know with every year, you'll see 1 or 2 probably enter the portal. So assuming next year that there will be 3 spots open again, meaning I believe the 27 class, they will take 2 linebackers. Now, this is all just totally assuming a year in advance, so we don't know for sure. Obviously, the class will be way smaller than the 26 class. We're looking at probably 15 to 20 commits instead of 35. So each position group itself is really only going to have probably 2 players-ish. Obviously, offensive line will probably have a little more, defensive line a little more. But when you're looking at receiver, cornerback, safety, linebacker, you're looking at probably 2. So I think 2 linebackers. So there's the whole background for you. All right, let's get into some prospects. So I got 5 here that I think are real possibilities. These aren't just throwing names out of pulling them out of a hat. These are real possibilities. So let's start with the number 2 ranked linebacker in the entire class, Caden Henderson. He is a 4-star from Florida, from Tampa, Florida. Doesn't go to IMG, but goes to one of their rival, I think, Jesuit High School. 6'2", 200 pounds. So obviously the way USC is trending, would like to see his weight bump up a little bit there, but certainly has the build to do it. He visited USC for that rainy Iowa game. Great atmosphere, electric. All the recruits loved the grit from USC, loved how the defense played him specifically. But he will not commit until, or likely, unless something changes, until the summer. So it's going to be a long process. Obviously, when you're the second-ranked player, all the big players are going after him, especially in the South, being from Florida. All the SEC teams, Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State's coming down the pipeline, Tennessee, Notre Dame, everyone. So one that USC certainly has a shot for. He met with Rob Ryan and all the coaches, obviously, when he visited, and there was a quote from him earlier. I think I spoke on this a few weeks ago of basically Rob Ryan telling him, like, hey, we could envision you being the next 5'5". You commit to USC, we could envision you being the next 55, which it has been quite some time since USC has had a 55. Now, I still believe, I think Talanoa Ely can end up being that, which would be before he even gets here, or in his freshman year, if they were to give that to Talanoa. I think Talanoa has that pedigree, has that size, has that cultural relevance, all of that, to be the next 5'5", but we're getting ahead of ourselves. But that's what they told Caden Henderson. So clearly there's a belief in him. Clearly there's a desire to add him to this class, and that would be a huge get. Really talented backer. I think a lot of you would certainly appreciate getting that high-end number 2 rated player at the overall position. I think one of the services might have him actually number 1, but Rivals Industry has him at 2. So that'll be a tough one. That's a long way. If he's not going to commit till summer, he's going to take spring visits. So USC will likely try to get him on a spring visit and take some summer visits potentially as well. So they'll see how often they can get him on campus. And some of those Florida kids, obviously not necessarily from Florida, but the kids that went to IMG, Brett Collegier, Kenai Pepe, maybe can sway him of moving cross country to LA. All right, next. This is probably, in my opinion, the most likely commit to get. He's the 4th ranked backer in the class. Toa Sateli from the state of Hawaii. So obviously USC is building a nice little connection with Hawaii, and I think this is one that they can certainly land. As of right now, ways to go, but as of right now, it's kind of between Cal and USC. Cal, obviously, this is before all the coaching changes, and I think they had a really good hiring Oregon's defensive coordinator, and what will happen there with their infrastructure, and Ron Rivera being the GM there. I think Cal is on an up and up trajectory, but whoever has been recruiting Sateli may be different. Things can shift a little bit, so maybe that changes his recruitment all around, whereas USC has stayed exactly how it's been during the process. So he visited during the Michigan State game, another great second half game for USC as they pulled away. 6'3", 200 pounds, 4-star. Again, want to see the weight get up just a little bit, but 6'3" frame certainly has the build to put that on. And in a great just player that USC can certainly look to add. So 4th ranked. This is one, in my opinion, feels the most likely. And you get that still top blue chip player that can come and be your 3-down linebacker of the future. Next. What's going on, LAFB family? Before we get to the show, got to tell you about my friends over at Sleeper, the number 1 sports app right now, and not just for season-long fantasy. They have daily game updates. They have a live chat that you can chat with other users. Plus, my favorite part is the daily fantasy feature, which is similar to a pick'em. You just choose 2 or more players across any sport. Choose more or less in whatever sport that may be. So if it's football, more or less touchdowns. For Jaden Mayava, if it's Mekhi Lemon, more or less receptions. If you're looking at the Dodgers, more or less home runs for Shohei Ohtani. Really easy, and you can win real money. Right now, when you go and make your first deposit, make sure you use our promo code. You see it right there on the screen, USCLAFB. That's going to give you a matched deposit bonus up to $100. You put in $100 to play with, you're going to get $100 free on top of that. You can put in 10, you get 10 free. Also, right now, our friends are offering a $20 free entry for any new signups. If you go sign up today, you'll get both those offers. You get $20 right off the bat free to play with. Plus, use that promo code USC LAFB at sign up and you'll get that match bonus as well. Go to the App Store, Google Play, download the Sleeper app today, and tell them that the USC LAFB sent you. Now, let's get on to the show. This one, I go up and down on this one. So Taven Epps. Depends who you talk to. Some have him listed as a linebacker. Some have him listed as a edge player. This is kind of a similar Sean Scott situation, right? Sean Scott could play both. Was more of kind of an edge type of player at modern day. USC recruited him as a stack backer. They can obviously use his versatility and use him in that kind of edge scenario, similar to like an Eric Gentry, but they can also use him as that stack backer on the inside if they want to, and they recruited him that way. Taven Epps, I believe, is similar. Obviously has the size, 6'4", 235, that USC is looking for right now in that linebacker room. He was originally committed to Texas as a true linebacker, recruited by their linebacker coach, decommitted to Texas, and really heavily trending to Oklahoma. So this might be a tough one for USC to ultimately get, but he is from Tustin, local kid. He has visited USC, I think multiple times during this fall season. Obviously being local certainly helps, and some of his teammates have visited, and we'll get to more of his teammates at a different video that are trending towards USC. Tustin's got a lot of talent this season and going into next year. So Epps is certainly one to watch. LB, edge, combo, versatile player, great size. He's expected to announce January 10th at the Navy All-American Bowl, so we'll know his plans much sooner than later versus like a Caden Henderson. It's wait until the summer. If he ultimately does commit to Oklahoma, doesn't mean USC won't stop pursuing, won't attempt to flip, and obviously being a local kid does make that a lot easier. So keep an eye on Taven Epps. The size you can't teach. And the size is exactly what USC is looking for in the linebacker room, 6'4", 235. Next one. This one, might not excite a ton of people at first. So these next two, I'll just say that USC's offered them. So clearly USC likes them and they're on the radar. Their ranking might not excite people as much, and their size might not excite people as much. But, these are kids still going into their senior year of high school, or not even going into yet. They still got 6 months of their junior year, and then they play their senior year. So growing will happen. Weight will happen. But Isaiah Phelps, he's the 30th ranked linebacker. And this is what I think is really interesting. So at 5'11", 190, not great size right now. And I don't mean that disrespectfully, but what we saw from Matai Tongoia and how basically USC kind of told him to hit the portal, and we're reading between the lines, we're making the assumption that that had to do more with size and kind of an awkward placement within the roster. Like, do they see him as more of a stack safety versus a true 3-down backer? This size doesn't make a lot of sense, 5'11", 190, so I think some of that is going to be congruent on him gaining weight into his senior year. Even if he doesn't grow an inch, if he stays at 5'11", I think they're okay with that, but if he can get to like 220 by his senior year or in his senior year, then you feel a lot better about that. But clearly, kid has a lot of talent. Goes to Pacifica and Oxnard, one of the premier high schools in the kind of Ventura, Thousand Oaks, that area, if you will. The offers are what tell you how good a player truly is. He's only listed as a 3-star, but he has a ton of offers. And look at his main offers. Obviously, USC, UCLA, Oregon, Ohio State, Notre Dame, all the big players and all the big teams that go after a specific type of linebacker are all offering this kid. So they clearly see the talent this kid has. And let me tell you about his production, because I think that's a big thing that I look at sometimes more. You have intangibles, you have size you can't teach, but then what does the production look like? And we've talked about this with Makai Lemon and others. Like, sometimes the production is worth more than the talent. Like, you can have all the talent in the world, but if you don't produce, like, who cares? You got to be able to produce and back that talent up. A guy like Taylor Johnson in the 26 class from Cajon here in San Bernardino, he's like led Southern California in tackles. Just dude produces. And that's what you want to see. Isaiah Phelps, this season, 219 total tackles, 22 tackles for loss, and 3 sacks. That's production. 219 tackles. His last game of the year, he had like 26 tackles. Had like 19 the game before that. That's a guy that's all over the football, that has gap integrity, gap sound, and just a GPS for the football. So if he can put on a little bit of weight, this might be the sleeper of the class, and USC is trending. He's kind of in the lead right now for Phelps, recruited by Rob Ryan. So keep an eye on Isaiah Phelps. Let's get that size up a little bit if possible. But just because he's 30th ranked 3-star doesn't mean he can't be a star for USC, and someone to keep an eye on. So lastly, 55th ranked linebacker, 3-star as well, Iona Uangale, 5'11", 220, so does have more weight. Goes to Damien High School here in Laverne, teammates with Gavin Williams, safety, who USC is really pushing hard for. They have offered him. So another local kid that, has the size they're looking for going into his senior year, could put on more, and a nice quality depth piece that potentially can turn into more depending on how that development looks. So those are the 5 kind of that I'm looking at right now. Things can certainly change, as they will change. It's a long process now that 27 recruiting has started. So we'll keep you posted on everything, especially linebacker. But I wanted to talk about these because I know not just you guys, me included, what is the plan for linebacker with this team? What is the development plan? What does the future look like at linebacker? Can this team have dominant linebackers? Will we see the next 55 anytime in the near future? I think the answer to all those questions is yes. Obviously, we need to see it happen on the field, and I know there was some frustrations this past season, specifically at this position group, but I think it's setting itself up for a massive improvement. I think we did see some development from the young guys that we were able to see on the field this season. Maybe not as quick as many would have liked, but you're going to have growing pains throwing those young guys into the fire straight from the go. And then they've clearly got a plan on the size they're looking for to compete in the Big Ten, and some of these recruits can speak to that as well. So we'll be posted on all things that. I'll be back a little bit later today with another recruiting video, so make sure to keep it right here. Hit that like and subscribe button. And 7 p.m. tonight, depending when you're listening to this, Wednesday night, 7 p.m., myself, Tim Prangley, the Madman, our weekly call-in show, taking your calls, getting your thoughts, everything you want to talk about. It's the offseason now, so it's a little more loose, a little more free. Maybe we'll talk some Notre Dame and all their whining and complaining. That fan base cannot call anyone soft ever again. They just canceled a book signing at their thing because the guy who wrote the book is on the committee. So maybe we'll get into that. Who knows? Whatever you guys want to talk about, that is your show, 7 p.m., the call-in show, talking all things USC. So I appreciate you as always. Thanks for hanging out with me. I'm Ryan Doward, as always, family. Fight on.